Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are we doing today? I hope everybody is doing well on this fine, glorious day. It's been a day. It's been a day. I will tell you that. So welcome to Rush to Judgment. Rush to Judgment with Jessica, and I'm Jessica. If you're new here, welcome. It's good to see you. Good to have you. If you are returning, good to have you back. I'm glad you're here. We are jumping right back in with the Nicole Nachtman trial. Yeah, we started it, so we're gonna finish it. I know my attention span has sometimes you pick a winner, sometimes you pick a doozy, but I think it's starting to get a little bit more interesting. Just have to get through excuse me. You just have to get through a few hurdles, and then I think you get to kind of the spicy stuff. So I think this one will be a little spicy. I'm not 100% sure, but I hope so. This one is her brother is on the stand today for the state, because we are still in the state's case in chief, and so we're going to hear the state and then the defense. Well, the state's direct, and then obviously defense's cross-examination of the brother and all that good stuff. So hopefully he's got some interesting things to say, and hopefully this, and then I think they said that the state was going to rest after this, so then we can get into the defense's case and see how that was going to play out. Let me see if I can get this glare out a little bit. That reflection is just going to be there until I find something else to go on that wall, because it just can't be bare. I can't do it. And it's a mirror. Anyway, so we got a reflection there and a reflection there of the light, and anywhere I put it, it's going to be somewhere. So deal with it. I moved it because I kept hitting, because that shelf was over here, but I kept hitting it with my chair and knocking it over and knocking stuff. So I moved it over there. And you could, I don't know. I'm just constantly moving things and rearranging things. And if anybody knows who I am in the real world, that's just a constant in my life. I'm constantly moving things around anyway. So that's not new. So if you're ever on here and from video to video, and they're even in like sequential order, and I put them out pretty much daily, and something is different day to day, it's normal. It's okay. I'm okay. It's fine. That's just how I do it. And you can't see things behind the scenes normally, but they're moved too. It's fine. It's quite all right. So, because this desk also serves as my work desk, so it gets moved around quite a bit for efficiency. So anyway, so in case you haven't been following along, the Nicole Nachtman, she is on trial for murdering her mom and her stepfather, and she's going for not guilty by reason, not guilty for insanity. So that's how they're playing it. So yeah, we'll hopefully get into their reasons. I've said I don't know how many times. I am so sorry. Okay, well, and I have played every day up until now, and we are still on day 4, but this is going to go into day 5. Oh, no. We're on day 5. We are day 5. This is day 5. So this is all of day, no, not all of day 5. There's other people in day 5, but we're just going to do, well, we might do all of day 5 today in this one. No, maybe not. That's a long day 5. Never mind. We're just going to do him. We're just doing the brother in this one. That's what we're going to do. That's what this is going to be. And we'll see how we feel after that. And if we want to continue to just knock some of this out. But like I said, I don't pre-watch any of these things. So my reaction is my reaction. If I'm bored, I'm bored. If I'm into it, I'm into it. But this is how I watch things. I do a lot of commentary. I do a lot of talking to myself. So this is how it goes. This is my world. Welcome to it. Welcome to my head. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. So yeah. But yeah, like I said, if you want to go back and catch up, you can. It's all out there in the playlist for this. Otherwise, you can just jump right in here and start from here or what have you. So, but I suggest you go back and watch it all. You can. That would be great. And then you can like and comment and subscribe. And very much appreciated if you subscribe and comment on and like the videos. It gets it out there into the world and out into the universe, and other people will see the things, and hopefully they will also like and subscribe, and we can get it out there, and that would be great and wonderful and fantastic. And I just want to remind everybody that I am not an expert, nor do I specialize in any type of legal anything. I do not. These videos are not for any type of legal advice or educational information. Sometimes I know some things about this, sometimes I don't. They are strictly for my opinion, just commentary on just various topics and subjects involving the trials. I do also do some true crime. They are out there too in on the channel. So if you subscribe to that, you'll see all that as well. So again, like, subscribe, comment. I do respond, so it's fun. I like to open up the door for conversation, and yeah, so we can get into it. I have talked long enough. They'll put me down here in the corner. And press play.
Welcome back. First of all, did anyone have any contact with this case or exposure to this case or discuss this case during the break? By show of hands. All right, I'm asking another question, show of hands. Does anybody have to get out of here before 5:30 today? By show of hands. All right, I see no hands.
Me.
That's the plan then. I don't want to keep
It's way past
5:30. 9, and I know that it's a long day, but we're going to go till no later than 5:30 today. So I'll ask the same to call your next witness. You'll call Detective Messer. Detective Messer.
What? Wait a minute. That's not right. We already won that one. Hold on. Wait a minute. No.
It takes them a couple minutes. You don't have to stand.
You
Now
know.
they'll let us know. But,
I just copied everybody else.
I certainly understand stretching. I'm going to stand and stretch my legs.
Listen.
All right, my recollection was we're
Jesus Lord.
State last witness on the stand after the direct.
That was a fake. That was a
So
mistake.
after that, is that correct recollection? All right.
Look at him. He's in
All right,
red.
ready?
Yes, sir.
Is that ready? Yes, sir. Let's bring in the jury.
He looks nice today.
Jury is present and seated. Everyone else ready to see at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, good morning and welcome back. Hope everyone had a nice evening. We're going to pick up where we left off in just a moment. You know, though, every time you leave the courtroom and you come back, I ask you a question or three questions, a three-part question. It's exposure, discussion, or research related to the case. If any of you have done any of those three things, been exposed to any reports about the case, did any research about the case, or discussed the case with anybody, including amongst
I
yourself,
do not
please raise
know
your
who
hand at
those
this time
people
so
are.
we can discuss it. Let the record reflect there are no hands. Again, thank you all very much. As promised, we will pick up where we left off. I'll ask the state to call your next witness.
State called Joseph Carey.
Joseph Carey. Mr. Carey, good morning and welcome. If you'll come forward, sir, be sworn wherever you're comfortable. If you'll face me and raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you swear affirm any testimony you've given this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you, sir. If you'll follow the bailiff around to the ramp that leads up to the witness chair, please watch your step. When you get to the chair, go ahead and have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. That microphone does adjust.
That
Morning, Mr.
microphone
Carey.
is
Could you please tell the jury your
fully
name and spell
adjusted.
your last name for the court reporter?
Good morning. Joseph Carey, Carey.
And Mr. Carey, where do you currently live?
I live at University Place, Washington State.
Where? I'm sorry, Washington State?
Washington State, yeah.
University Place. Where's that?
It's outside of Tacoma, right by where I work. It's a joint base Lewis McCord.
And who do you live with there?
My wife and two kids.
And you said near an Air Force Base. Where are you currently employed?
I'm in the United States Air Force. I work at joint base Lewis McCord.
And what do you do for the United States Air Force?
I work for NORAD, the Weapons and Tactics Office over there. I'm a Master Sergeant working there.
How long have you been with the United States Air Force?
That's
Since
cool.
2001.
Do you know the defendant in this case, Nicole Nachtman?
Yes,
And how do you know her?
she's my sister.
Or is she a full sister or a half sister?
Half sister.
Do you all share the same mother, the same father?
Same mother.
So the victim in this case, Miriam Deans, was your mother.
Correct.
That sucks.
And how old are you now, Mr. Carey?
36.
I mean, I get
There's
it.
a significant age difference between you and your sister.
Yes.
Do you know about how many years apart you all are as far as age?
About 12 years. She was born in 94 and I'm in 82.
Jesus.
Who was your father?
Also Joseph Carey.
Is he still alive?
No.
How long ago did he pass?
A couple months or 2 or 3 months before my mother.
And how did he pass, if you don't mind me asking?
He committed suicide.
Oh, damn.
Now, when your mom and dad, did you ever live with them when they lived together?
Yes.
How old were you about when they divorced?
12 years old, I remember, was the deciding factor when we were in court in Houston. I got to say who I wanted to live with. So I remember 12 years old was, at least in the state of Texas, that's where you could decide. So I remember that pretty clearly. So I would
Okay.
say around 12 years old.
So that was in Texas,
Yes.
and you chose to live with your mom?
Yes.
If you can get closer to the microphone, let's just make sure that it's on. Jerry's having difficulty. Yeah.
Is it better? Oh, I can hear it.
Other than Miss Nachtman, do you have any other siblings?
I had a brother,
Okay.
a full brother,
What was his name?
Kevin Carey.
Kevin Carey. Was he younger or older than you?
He was younger by about a year and a half.
All right, and you said it you had, so I take it he's no longer alive.
No, he passed in a car accident.
How long ago was that?
Jesus.
2003.
Now, you stated there was an age difference about 12 or 13 years between you and Miss Nachtman. When she was born, were you still living with your mother?
Yes.
Right, you were, I guess, about obviously 12 or 13 at that time.
Yes.
And did you all live together during those early years when Miss Nachtman was a baby?
Yes.
Oh, somebody didn't turn off their phone.
Did there come a time when you stopped living with your mother and stayed instead with your grandmother?
Yes.
How old was Nicole at that time?
See, I went to high school in Tampa around 96, 97. So my sister was probably 3 or 4.
Okay, so 3 or 4 years old. you chose while you were in high school to stay in Tampa. What was the reason behind that?
So without too much background, I guess, after the mess that I called Houston when we were in the living condition there with my dad and everything, we finally were able to leave that place, and my sister's biological father, the legal mess that we were in, the problems we had there. When we finally got back to where all my family was, and I felt a lot better being back here, my mom wanted to immediately go back to Virginia where she owned a house. And to me, that was just a huge mistake. And it was just kind of getting away from our foundation of family and being together and helping each other out. So I just immediately thought it was going to be a mess again. So I wanted to stay where I was happy.
Okay, and so you were happy here in Tampa,
Mm-hmm.
and you were happy in high school,
Yes.
and you didn't want to leave.
No.
So you chose, and your grandmother was okay with you living with her.
Yes.
So Nicole was about 3 or 4 when your mom moved with her to Virginia. Is that right?
Yes.
Was that about the last period in time when you were actually living with Nicole Nachtman on a continuous basis?
Yes.
Aside from the fact you all weren't living together, did you all still remain close, visit, see each other from time to time?
Yes.
Talk via phone from time to time?
Yes.
When your mother was in Virginia, is that where she met Robert Deans?
Yes.
And again, you were still down here with so you weren't present when she met him and was dating him and eventually got married to him. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, you stated you joined the Air Force in 2001.
Yes.
About how long after you had graduated from high school did you join the Air Force?
Immediately, I think maybe there was a month or two between graduation and going to the boot camp.
And you've been at the Air Force since.
Yes.
So where were you first stationed when you joined the Air Force?
Hill Air Force Base, Utah.
How long were you in Utah?
Almost 2 years.
And again, while you were in the Air Force, did you still maintain contact with Nicole Nachtman?
Yes.
And as she grew older, would she come and visit and stay with you from time to time?
Yes.
And when she was there, when she talked to you about things that are going on in her life,
Yes.
did she seem to enjoy the visits that she had with you?
Yes.
Did you feel at that time that you all were close?
Yes.
Now, Robert Deans, did you know him very well?
Not very well, no.
About how many times do you think in total you saw Mr. Deans throughout after your mom married him?
I'd say a handful of times, 4 or 5 times.
Now, when you would visit Nicole, with your mom, did everything seem normal? Did you see any sort of fighting or loud arguing when you were there?
Between who? Say that again?
Just the family? Did you see any strife or anything that caused you concern?
No, nothing that caused concern, no.
In the summer of 2015, did you see Nicole at all that summer?
Yes.
Or when did you see her?
The summer where before the incident.
Did you see her here in Tampa, or where was she?
No, I was living in Washington State. She visited me out there.
Now, were you already married by then?
Yes.
And you already had your kids?
Yes.
And how long did she stay with you that summer of 2015?
3 weeks to a month, somewhere in that area.
Huh.
While she was there that summer of 2015, did she ever discuss any issues with you about your mom?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay.
Nothing, just typical.
Did she ever mention to you that she was concerned about your mom or concerned about their relationship or anything that she was worried about?
No.
Did she ever discuss with you any issues at school or things that were going on at school, problems she was dealing with at school?
I mean, on that specific visit, I don't remember. Typical problems, bullying or whatever.
Okay, so she did confide in you some things, but anything that caused you alarm or concern at that point?
No.
I mean, he is a man.
And what was your understanding as to where she would be going in the fall?
Florida State University.
He probably didn't pry or
Was that the last time you saw Nicole Nachtman before the homicides?
Yes.
dig too far
Tell me this,
into.
when was the first time you heard about these murders?
I was coming off of mid shift, which is 12-hour shifts we do at my job, where it's like 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. And got out around 6:30 a.m. and got to my car and I saw missed phone calls and text messages. And I called back and it was my Uncle Eric, and he was crying and he told me that I thought it was my grandma immediately because he lives in the same area and she's older. So I thought maybe something happened to my grandma, and then he was crying and he said, "No, it's your mom." And that's when I found out.
Okay. So when you're on these shifts, you can't have your phone with you.
You can't have fun in the building.
So you get this call from your Uncle Eric and he informs you that your mom has passed. Did he mention Robert at all?
Yes. The rumor in the beginning that was
Object to hearsay.
Also staying at this time. I'll caution the witness not to testify what somebody else said to you unless specifically asked, and we have a discussion night allowed.
Without saying what was said to you, what was your understanding or belief or at that time in your own mind as to what possibly had occurred?
The understanding was that it was a murder-suicide, that Bob had killed my mom and was found with a gun in his hand in his chair, and he had killed himself.
And that's kind of what you had just interpreted from hearing things, and that's what your belief was?
Yes.
So what did you do at that time?
At the time, I was living on base, so it was a 2-minute drive to my house. So I remember driving home to get to stay on the phone and get a better understanding of what was going on. And then I wanted to call my sister. I asked my uncle, did anybody call my sister and let her know? And they said that they told her that she had been in an accident and we didn't know her status because we didn't want her driving from Tallahassee to Tampa knowing that her mom died. We were worried of her driving condition. So I called my sister to let her know that, we all love you. Don't worry about it. Just get to Tampa. We'll figure things out.
Okay, so your immediate concern at that time was for your sister and her well-being.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And so as you got home, so that's your first conversation with your sister?
Yes.
How did she sound when you talked to her?
If I remember correctly, it was a lower voice, maybe a little bit upset.
Okay. And in that conversation, did she say anything to you that you recall specifically?
In that first phone call, no, it was more just receiving information from me. And I think she had already talked to some of my uncles before I had called her too. So she had already been given the news.
And so, according to what you just said, your purpose of that phone call is just to put her at ease, to let her know that you had family and you were coming there and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, she's not alone. She's surrounded by family and everything's going to be fine.
And you said that you got off at 6:30. So about what time did you call her from your base?
Somewhere around probably 6:45 to 7.
Okay, about what time East Coast time would that have been?
11-ish. Yeah, I'd say around 11 o'clock.
Now, when you called her that first time and told her that y'all would be there for
Sorry
her,
about that. 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock.
Okay.
Sorry.
So when you called her that first time, and did you tell her at that time that her mother was dead?
No, not yet.
So what happens next?
So after I talked to my sister and, told her I'm working on coming down, I start getting on a computer to see if I can buy a plane ticket to come to Florida. So I'm searching on the internet, and then my sister calls me back, and I answered the phone. I told her, "Hey, Nikki, listen, I'll talk to you in a minute. I just need to get this ticket. There was only 1 or 2 left," because I didn't want to blow her off. Half talk to her and half focus on something else. I want to give her all the attention. So I said, "Let me call you back. Give me like 10, 15 minutes." So we hung up.
Let me ask you, what was her demeanor when she called you back that time? How did she sound?
She sounded normal, like, "Hey, Joey."
Right. And so you told her you'd call her back if
Yeah.
you were in the process of purchasing a ticket.
Yes,
And did you call her back?
I did.
All right, tell us about that. How long after she called you did you call her back?
I guess it was about 15 minutes or so. And I went to the couch and sat down because I had a feeling it was probably going to be a longer call. So if she's calling me back, my mindset was she needed to talk. So I wanted to dedicate time to talking. So I went to the couch to sit down and talk to her.
Okay. And when you called her back, what did she say to you first?
So she answers, "Hey, Nikki, just want to let you know again, we love you, miss you. We're going to see you soon." And then she got quiet. She said,
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. One of the jurors is still having trouble.
Oh.
Yeah.
"Sorry about that." So, I started off with the normal chit chat. "We love you. We'll see you soon." And then she just was quiet for a second. And then she said, "I'm going to miss you, Joey."
Just like that, just very matter of fact, I'm
Yep.
going to miss you, Joey?
Yep.
All right. What did you think when you heard her say that?
I didn't know what she meant the first time she said it. And I don't think I made sense of it just yet. And I said, "What?" Something like, "Say that again," or what? She's like, "I'm just going to miss you." And I said, "What do you mean?" And then at this point, saying it out loud sounds weird, but I was thinking maybe she was thinking of hurting herself because her mom's gone. So, but I didn't want to put words in her mouth. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, "I want to say I said, are you thinking you're hurting yourself now at this point?" And she said, "No, I don't think I'd do that." And I said, "So what do you mean by that?" And then she got quiet again. And then she says, "I shot him." I said, "You did what?" Like, I shot Mom and Bob." I was like, and I remember leaning forward on the couch and saying it again. I was like, "What do you mean you shot Mom and Bob?" I was like, "Why'd you do that?" Or something to that effect. And she just started crying really bad and talking really fast. And I couldn't understand what she was saying. I was trying to calm her down. And eventually I was trying to get her to calm down and make sense of what she's saying. And eventually she got to the point where she was explaining that ever since she got back from London, her school trip, that she's had uncontrollable screaming in her head and like high-pitched screaming, and that it was affecting her sleep and she was having nightmares from it. And then I tried to calm her down some more, and then she said, if I had only gotten the good news phone call about the dorms earlier, I wouldn't have had to do it. And I didn't know what she meant by that. I didn't know anything about the dorm situation. I didn't know what she was meaning by that. And then she said something that I remember was, I'm sorry I had to do it. I'm not sorry that I did it, but I'm sorry I had to do it. And then she was, more crying and things like that. And then I remember thinking to myself, well, I don't know what to do now. So I'm going to call my family and have them help me think correctly about this.
Right, now I want to go through this carefully because there were other things she said to you. So I want to make sure we get everything out that she said to you at that time. So you talk about the screaming in her head, but good news about the dorm room. What did she tell you specifically about shooting Bob?
Yeah, she said, and then she went into like a whisper, and she was like, I didn't think I could do it, Joe. I didn't think I could do it, but I shot Bob. I didn't think I could do it. And it was just weird because it was in a whisper and almost sounded like she was proud of herself. I know there was more being said, and I'm sorry. I'm just.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Did she mention anything about what happened when your mom arrived? When your mom arrived?
So okay, so she described after she shot Bob that a lot of the screaming went away in her head. It didn't go away all the way, but it went away a lot. And then she described she went up to her dorm and she was hanging out in the dorm. Her stairwell saying, your dreams are almost realized, keep going, things like that, like motivational posters. And she took that as a sign from God to go back and finish the job. So then she told me she went back to Tampa and she waited in the house overnight for my mom. And then when my mom got home, she said that she got cold feet the last second. She wanted to get out of the house. So she mistimed it. She jumped out of the window to not meet my mom. So my mom was walking in the house and she wanted to jump out the window and just time it to where she would miss her. And she mistimed it and ran into my mom. And my mom said, Nikki, what the fuck are you doing here? And she said she blacked out and somehow she knows she did it. And then I don't remember if she said she was in the car driving or she was getting to the car to drive away.
Did she ever mention anything about you calling her an animal or something along those lines?
She said, you can call me a beast, but don't call me a monster or something like that.
How did the conversation end?
I just remember saying, like, why did you have to do that? You had options. You could have called your uncle. You could have called your grandma. You could have called me. Why did you have to do that? And I don't know what she said. She just kept crying. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Would you like a glass of one cup of water?
I'm okay. So then I hung up and called my family back to find out. I remember saying, like, are we angry at her? Are we trying to help her? Help me think straight. What do I do? And I think I was talking to my Uncle Kenny, and it was either my Uncle Eric or Kenny, I can't remember, but they talked about it for a while and they said, we're going to try and help her. And then I said, okay. And then I called her back and said, listen, somewhere in the process here, I knew that they were sending a detective up to talk to her. And I said, listen, when they get up there, just tell them you want a lawyer, don't say anything. And that's what I said. We love you. I don't know when I'm gonna talk to you again. And that was it.
Did law enforcement, after you called your uncles and told them what Nicole had told you, did law enforcement ever contact you?
Yes.
All right. And did they ask you what Nicole had told you?
Yes.
What did you tell them at first?
At first, I asked if she was going to get a lawyer. I mean, I had to say anything also. And they said, yes, it doesn't extend to me. So I told them everything that she told me. I told them the story that I remembered her telling me.
Okay.
I mean,
And
you
that
can
was a
still get a
detective
lawyer
from
yourself,
Tampa that
though.
called you initially?
Yes.
And did you ever meet with an OSI agent from the base and give them the same story about what happened?
Yeah, the detective told me I need to go over to the OSI now, or pretty soon he had to make arrangements to meet.
A family can get a lawyer
that can document.
that can advise them.
So I met with the agent shortly thereafter.
And did you eventually meet with the lead detective in this case, Detective Mitchell Messer, and tell him what occurred?
Yeah, in person. I ended up flying to Tampa.
You can always get a lawyer.
When's the next time you hear or talk to your sister after that?
I think the next time is literally the visitation before I left town to go back home at the jail.
And so you went to visit her at the jail?
Yes.
And how did she seem when you were talking to her at the jail?
Like very happy, very like nothing was wrong. Like she felt great. She was smiling and giddy.
Had she been medicated?
Aside from that visit, did you visit her or talk to her again?
There was a couple more, 2 or 3 more phone calls after I returned back home through the jail service.
Are you still in contact with her?
Objection to relevance.
Approach.
I mean, I feel like it's relevant.
So you said maybe talked to her 2 or 3 more times after that visit. Have you talked to her since then?
No.
Oh, he won. Bitchy lady.
Prior to these murders and all your contacts with your sister, did she ever indicate there were any serious problems at the house?
No.
And if she had, would you try to help her?
Yes.
If I had one moment.
Yeah.
Now, the defense was sitting there worried about that he was going to...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break before the cross-examination. So please do not discuss the case amongst yourselves with anyone else. Please do not do any research related to the case, and please avoid any
So, on
exposure
the last
to any
video...
media reports of the case. All rise from the group.
So on the last video, they sat there and they were fighting over some things about how when they did their cross on him, because they were afraid that like the state was going to sit there and try to paint this pretty little picture of the family was great and this and that and the third. Now they didn't do that. They didn't go into like their childhood and how things were. Now I'd be interested to see if the defense does go into that and see all of that. Now it's going to be different because there is such an age gap, and he wasn't there for most of her childhood because he didn't live with them past the age of 3 or 4. So he's not going to know all of that. So now it seems to be that there was some issues with mom and her decision-making skills. I don't know what type of mess they lived in with dad, and I don't know what happened with dad, but this poor man over here has been through some things. He lost his dad a month or so before he lost his mom. He lost his brother in a car accident. He's lost his whole family, man. And now his sister is going to prison. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she is. Perhaps. This curly-haired blonde lady is over here playing games on her phone. She can't be bothered to pay attention.
Everyone may be seated. Sir, you may step down. I'm going to discuss some legal issues with the attorney. Please do not discuss your testimony with anyone.
Yes, sir.
Can you step out, Judge, just so that?
Yeah, I'll ask, just while we discuss these legal issues. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
That'd be the case when we have legal issues to discuss with Mr. Lears.
Absolutely, yeah. Take your time.
Judge, my concern originally was that Mr. Terry was not going to let me get into the childhood and things of abuse. However, that was clearly opened up on direct, so I don't think that's an issue as far as the childhood, why he ran away, and the child, the home life.
He didn't run away.
Clearly he went into that, so I don't think that's the issue.
As far as, Judge, and I will say, as far as what he observed with his mom and Nicole, not as far as what he had experienced with his own mom, I think that's irrelevant. That doesn't go to her battered child syndrome.
But it goes to the atmosphere she grew up in. So you can be a battered child for many reasons. So her brother runs away at 16 is what he's going to say. And he already testified to it because of the stress of what's going on. His mom at the time was going through a divorce from his biological father and at the same time going through a custody battle with Nicole. She's in that environment. It's absolutely relevant. And it was already elicited on direct. So to now limit what I can ask about that is clearly prejudicial. With regard to, I guess my concern is I believe all of her childhood and everything now comes in because Mr. Terry went into it. The issue now is whether he can now testify to specific acts of abuse or violence, whether it be psychological or physical, that either he witnessed his mom commit against Nicole.
Against Nicole.
Correct. And that's what I intend on asking. So it's going to be questions about, the belittling, the liposuction, things that, the mom made Nicole do as it relates to what he observed.
He never
Let me
said
ask,
he ran
Mr. Chair,
away.
You did ask him, was there any fighting? Did you witness any fighting between Nicole or the mother? Did everything seem normal? Did she discuss anything with you about her relationship with her mom? And then your final question to him was, prior to the murder, did you ever any serious problems at the house? Did you ever observe something? I can't read my handwriting. But you asked the question, prior to the murder, did you ever any serious problems at the house? Doesn't that open the door to them if they have specific instances?
Judge, I was just trying to point out that there was nothing he could see, that she never told him anything, any reason why she would have done this. That's all. I wasn't really getting into any abuse he witnessed, any abuse she suffered. Just did she ever indicate any reason why she would have done this? Any problems going on that she would have caused her to kill her mother?
Judge, here's the difference, and this is what needs to be elicited, and I believe Mr. Carey, as previously testified to, will say all these things. To Mr. Carey, and he'll say this, I didn't consider it abuse because I was a strong person and I got out. I could stand up to my mom. What he's going to say is that his mom would say that their children are a disgrace to them. So in his eyes, when he says things are normal or okay, they were normal or okay to him because he left at 18, he went into the military, and he was able to stand up to his mom. But he has previously testified under oath that his mom would say that their children were a disgrace, that he would belittle Nicole. That she would belittle Nicole, that she would comment on her weight, that she made her get liposuction. So again, the way Mr. Terry characterized the questions to Joseph was, again, trying to paint this perfect picture, which is at all not the case. I'm not going to ask anything that I don't believe he's going to, again, I don't plan on eliciting facts that I don't believe he's previously testified to. These are all things that he's previously testified to and that he observed.
And judges, most of my questions were intending to, since you've already let in much stuff, as you said, because of the insanity, I felt like I had to at least ask those questions, whether or not he noticed anything from Nicole that would give him concern.
And that's what he did.
That would cause him concern as far as what was going on in the house.
But let me ask you, how do I limit the cross? If the question to him is, did everything seem normal between Nicole and the mother? How do I limit the cross to go into things that may imply that things weren't normal?
Judge, as far as
It seemed normal to him.
You've already ruled and against the state's position. That's the reason I asked these questions ahead of time.
Because that's why he
ruled that a lot of this stuff.
Do they look normal? Are they normal to you? And to him, they were normal.
That's what you ruled earlier.
Well, I hadn't read the depo yet. I have made some rulings. I'd have to go back to see specifically, but I did say that now that they have the insanity defense and they have a different doctor, that whatever that doctor relies on for the insanity defense, most likely I'm going to have to allow in. I read his deposition last night, and he talks about diagnosing her with schizophrenia, hallucinations, delusional, and he says that the symptomology started at that third grade. So it does. The insanity expert opens that door. So I agree with you. Whether I ruled that previously or not, I know where we're going to go with that and what I'm going to have to allow. But I'm concerned now about what limitations I place on them on cross. For example, if the testimony thus far on direct is there were, I never observed any fighting or anything abnormal. There was nothing to give me any concern. How do I limit the defense from bringing up things like, did your mother call Nicole worthless or whatever the previous testimony is?
Just that's the thing. The cross is intended to go into anything that is, and it can't be limited. If it was discussed on direct, there is no limitation on what's the factor, the issue. You can't mislead a jury and leave it out there that everything was normal and then limit my ability again, not in any way to elicit facts that have not been previously testified to. But
Put your hand down.
Mr. Carey has previously discussed in either a deposition, an interview, and or his battered child syndrome hearing. And so to me, you can't limit the cross now that those topics have been elicited by the proceeding.
Mr. Chair?
Judge, I'm not asking you to limit it exclusively. And what I'm saying is, Judge, I don't want it to be a feature. Your Honor, I've been put in a box here with this insanity defense because Your Honor has ruled that on much of this, and in fact, you told Ms. Holt this yesterday, much of all these same issues are going to come in because of insanity. Mm-hmm. And when their witness testified yesterday, you basically let everything in. You let all the hearsay in so I've got to find a way to in some way confront the insanity, but I'm not willing to concede at all that the battered child syndrome and the self-defense applies.
No, nobody's at that. Absolutely. I agree with you.
So I've been put in a situation here, Judge, based on your rulings yesterday with your own defense witnesses and what you allowed in, which was basically everything, that Nicole was scared of her mom, that Nicole and her mom fought. So all of those things came in already. So I felt like if I didn't mention it at least, or at least say that, did you see anything that caused you concern?
But I agree. I'm not saying you did anything right or wrong, or that you. But now, so whether it's based on the fact that you asked whether everything was normal, or based on the fact that I've already ruled that they're going to be able to get into it, they have to be allowed on cross to question him about those. You thought it was normal, but didn't this happen? Didn't that happen? if he observed it.
And that's fine, just what he observed. And I understand that, and I'm not gonna really argue that, but I am gonna ask, Judge, that she not be asking him specific instances of abuse he suffered at the hands of his mom. Okay, because that's
Yeah.
irrelevant to this charge. It's only what Nicole suffered as a battered child syndrome, as according to them.
Well, that's untrue. So if in fact Nicole knew about specific acts of violence that the mom inflicted on him, and I have case law on that
But how is
issue,
he gonna be able to testify that Nicole knew?
he's gonna say it's
Exactly.
discussed it. I asked him in our trial prep that specific question before I asked about specific acts of violence, and Nicole knew about.
Don't
things his
ask
mom
him
was
that.
in. That absolutely goes to self-defense. There's two ways you can,
Well,
character evidence, and I understand the
we have an
self-defense,
open self-defense.
but I don't want him to think that they're not coming in at all. If we end up at self-defense, I
We're
believe
not there
we
yet,
call
so they're not
Mr.
coming in
Carey.
now.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Right.
I
You
think we're all
talk
right.
too much.
I don't know
Lady.
if there's anything that we need to discuss with him.
I don't believe so, Judge.
So let's bring the jury back in and do the cross-examination.
Bring the witness.
Let's bring the witness in first. Yes, thank you.
Oliver Bryan, bring in the witness. Bring back the witness in.
She's so aggressive.
Judge, just to clarify the court's ruling, because Mr. Carey asked about his biological father and
Mr.
the
Carey.
fact that he committed suicide, Joseph's biological father, he was physically abusive in the home, and I want to make sure that that's fair game or not. His biological father was abusive to him, and part of the turmoil that's going on, and then the biological father was elicited on direct,
What does
eventually
that have to
committed
do with
suicide.
Nicole? Was Nicole? It was
Well, because the
abusive to Nicole.
divorce, okay, so why he runs away, this divorce and all the turmoil that's happening is after she's born.
She's an infant, Judge. She doesn't know anything about all that. I mean, it's such a stretch to try and put that, and then have Nicole testify about or know anything about that.
The point is, why he ran away is twofold. His father was physically abusive to him, and he wanted to get out of the turmoil of this divorce. I don't want it to make it, Mr. Terry almost made it look like he chose to live with grandma because he wanted to live in Tampa and not Virginia. He chose to live with grandma because his father was physically abusive, and his mom was in the process of divorcing his father, and at the same time in a custody battle with Nicole's biological father. That's the relevance. And I'm not gonna ask about specific, what did your dad do, but he was physically abusive in the home.
Again, Judge, I can't see how that goes to Nicole's insanity
That's
defense.
not,
or
doesn't have
to a battered
nothing
child
to
syndrome.
do with Nicole.
There's a connection at all. It may have something to do with him, but it has nothing to do with anything to do with this case or with Nicole Nachtman.
I agree. I don't see the relevance of, he's testified that there was a mess. I mean, if you want to reiterate with that him, but go to the specific of that the father was physically abusive to him when there's no indication that that is any way related to Nicole, I don't see, no. I'm not
Because
sure.
part of the issue too would go to his credit, again, I don't plan on, I hope I don't have to impeach him on any issue, but why you left and why you ran away at 16 was for those very reasons. His father was physically, it wasn't I came to Tampa because I just wanted to be around my family. He wanted to get away from the chaos of his home with his mother, who was at the same time in a divorce with his biological father because of physical abuse and because of the custody
Well, here's
battle.
what
So
you
it
can
is
do.
the environment.
Here's the deal, because Mr. Terry, you did get that out. He did testify about that. You can ask him specifically on cross, why, what are the reasons why you stayed with the grandmother?
Okay.
And let's see what he says.
Okay.
Let's bring him back in. Mr. Terry, welcome back. We're gonna put you back on the witness stand before we bring the jury in.
I don't know what his abuse or anything that happened to him has to do with
Is that
her
ready?
Yes, sir.
when
Is that
she
ready?
wasn't even around.
Let's bring in the jury.
12 years.
Ready, Judge?
Yes.
All right, the jury.
Jury is present and seated. Everyone else, are you seated at the time? Ladies and gentlemen, jury, welcome back. You know, I have to ask, did anyone have any exposure to the case, discuss the case, or do any research related to the case during the last break? Let the record reflect there are no hands. Thank you all again. You may proceed to cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Mr. Perry.
Good morning.
So your mom had 3 children, you, Kevin, and Nicole.
Yes,
You were the oldest,
yes,
and Nicole was the youngest, obviously.
yes,
You had indicated on direct that there was about a 12-year age difference between you and Nicole.
yes.
Don't
And
be a
then Kevin
bitch.
and you were
through
about a
this.
year apart.
Yeah, a year and a half.
You had indicated your father committed suicide shortly before your mom's death in 2015.
Yes,
Now, your brother Kevin, who was born, I guess, in 1984, died in a car accident in 2003.
yes.
And that would have been when Nicole was about 6 or 7?
I trust you. Yes.
What year do you recall Nicole being born?
94.
Now, Nicole's biological, you had indicated on direct, you and Nicole had different fathers.
Yes.
Nicole's biological father is an individual by the name of Ronald Nachtman.
Yes.
And your mom had met Mr. Nachtman in Texas when you all lived there.
Correct.
And at the time of her relationship with Nicole's biological father, she was in the midst of divorcing your biological father, who is also named Joseph Carey.
Yes.
And this was all happening in Texas when Nicole was very young.
Yes.
I think you said your mom and your father, at least the divorce started about when you were 12. So it would have been right around the time Nicole was born or shortly after.
Yes. I
But
think
y'all are
12
12
was
years.
about when it was ending, because I think my decision, whatever, was kind of on the tail end of it all.
Now, you've described that divorce and that custody battle as pretty nasty.
Yes.
This wasn't a typical divorce or a divorce where maybe visitation and things were agreed upon and things were cordial between the parties. Would you agree with that?
No, they didn't like each other. I mean, we had visitation and things like that, but it was a legal battle for sure.
And it was a legal battle both between your mom and your biological father for the divorce, but also a legal battle between your mom and Nicole's father, Ronald Nachtman, about her custody
Yes.
situation with Nicole, correct?
Yes.
And this again is while Nicole is a very young child.
Yes.
You'd agree your mom was tough on you growing up.
Yes.
She would get angry if you or her children did not meet her expectations.
Yes.
She would belittle her children,
At times, yeah.
call them a disgrace at times.
Yes.
Now, your mom and Ronald Nachtman, Nicole's father, weren't together very long.
No.
So Nicole is born in 1994, and this custody battle and all of this turmoil begins pretty early in Nicole's life.
Yes.
In fact, as a
Nicole's
child,
life.
you remember your mom and Ronald Nachtman living together for a very short period of time in the home with you, your brother, and Nicole.
Yes.
But they lived in separate rooms,
Yeah, he had his own room.
and that was kind of weird to you.
Yes.
And then after Nicole's birth in 1994, there's a lot of arguing going on in that home before Ronald Nachtman eventually moves out.
Yes.
Arguing to the point where your mom and Ronald Nachtman would get in each other's face sometimes
Yes.
while Nicole was there.
Yes.
You also
Oh,
remember your
no.
mom becoming physical with Ronald while Nicole was there. Pushing.
Yeah, I think I remember pushing. Yeah.
So then Ronald Nachtman and your mom's relationship is short-lived. She's at the same time going through the divorce with your biological dad, and Ronald Nachtman moves out.
Yes.
Is that how you remember it?
Yes.
And she was a very young child. How many of y'all remember
Is
your
it fair to say
very
the
young
custody battle
child
between
things?
your mom and Ronald Nachtman over visitation for Nicole pretty much went on through most of her childhood?
Yes.
And ultimately, your mom obtains sole custody of Nicole, and Ronald Nachtman is completely eliminated from your sister's life.
Yes.
In fact, your memory of that time in Texas, and again, you're older, 12 years older than Nicole, that time when all this is happening between your mom and Ronald and your mom and your biological father was an absolute mess,
Yes.
filled with a lot of stress.
Yes.
That's when I believe you testified on direct, as your mom is about to move from Texas to Virginia, you decide you're coming to Tampa to live with grandma.
Yes.
Is that a yes? You didn't, it wasn't really just like a decision that the family agreed upon. You actually ran away from your home with your mother, correct?
Yes.
So this wasn't, hey, mom, I think it would be better for me to live with grandma, if that's okay. This was, I'm running away and I'm not coming with you to Virginia.
Yeah, it started off with me just saying I want to stay here, and she didn't want that. So eventually I just said I'm staying here.
And you actually physically got out of the car and ran away.
Yes.
Now, at the time you run away from your mom's home, Nicole is only 2 or 3 years old at this point.
Yes.
So while you could stand up to your mom,
Okay. Wait a minute. So all of this mess and strife and custody battles and everything is going on while this girl is 2 or 3. Okay. I would say that this man right here has more of a reason to be fucked up than that girl does. He witnessed it all. She was 2 or 3. He saw it all. Now, don't know what happened as she got older. Maybe we'll find out that she witnessed a whole lot more and she went through a whole lot more. But right now, ma'am, mean lady ma'am, you're not really getting me. You're not. She's to her She's probably not even potty trained yet. She doesn't know what the hell is going on. I mean, yeah, they have some sort of sense in some things, and they understand some things and all of that, but they don't know. They don't know for real. Oh, good God Almighty. And you can fix that. You can fix it as they get older. You can make up for it. Maybe she just never made up for it. You can fix your fuck ups as they get older.
To your mom or indicate to your mom, I'm going, regardless of what you say. At 3 years old, Nicole didn't have a choice, did she?
No.
Now you begin attending high school in Tampa while living with your grandmother.
Yes.
And at the same time, Nicole is up in Virginia living with your mom alone at this point.
Yes.
Because Kevin has already passed by then. Or
No, no.
Kevin's still there.
Kevin's still there.
So Kevin and Nicole are in Virginia together. And it's about 1996 or 97 when you run away to live in Tampa with your grandmother.
Yes.
And then you never lived with your mom again after that period of time.
No.
So at this point, when you run away and choose to live with your grandmother, you're about
Stop
15
saying
and
run
Nicole's
away.
about 3. Is that your recollection of the ages?
Yes.
So it's fair to say when Nicole's 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, 7 years old, all the way up until college, you never lived in the same home again with Nicole and your mother.
No.
Well, because he was
Because after
16
you
when he
ran away at
left.
15, you
17,
stayed with your
18.
grandmother, finished high school, and then went to the Air Force, I believe, right after high school, you said.
Very good.
Your brother Kevin, prior to his death, had also left home to go into the military at age 18. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it fair to say that during your childhood, or at least most of your childhood, you had your brother Kevin to lean on?
Yes.
You all were close in age, a year or so apart.
Yes.
But by the time all of this is happening and you've run away, Kevin's joined the military, Nicole's pretty much by herself.
Yes.
Oh, darn. That's somehow their fault. I don't like
Let's
where you're
talk about
going
your
with
sister as a child.
mean lady.
You remember her as an outgoing kid when
Yes.
she was little. Loved to dance,
Yep.
sing,
Yes.
put on shows for everybody. Is that fair? Is that a fair description of your sister when she was little?
Yes.
I want to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 3A and 3B, and tell me if you recognize these photos and what they are.
Yeah. Pictures of us.
Is that what you remember Nicole being as a young child, happy, the way you just described her?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, I'd introduce Defense Exhibit 3A and 3B.
Any objections at this time? No objection.
Permission to publish?
You may vote.
Tell us who's in this photograph.
On the left, my friend Jeff, my sister on my lap, and then my brother Kevin.
If you know, and I know it's hard to look at pictures, but about how old do you think Nicole is in this picture?
I'm guessing about 2 or 3.
Aw.
Defense 3B? Who's that?
Myself and my sister.
About how old do you think maybe she is there?
Yes, 4, 3 or 4.
So as a young child, you remember Nicole, what we see in those photographs, a happy kid. And then at some point you see a change in her. What grade do you recall the change happening where Nicole just wasn't that bubbly, happy kid anymore?
I'd say around middle school.
And when you say middle school, because middle school
middle
can mean different
school.
things for different people, elementary, middle,
Like
about what grade?
6th grade, I think.
Describe for the jury what kind of changes you began to see in Nicole around that time.
She became very introverted, not outgoing at all. She used to sing and dance in front of strangers. She just stopped doing that. She started dressing just much more conservatively and flat colors. She wasn't wearing the bright colors and things like that she used to. Pretty quiet, kind of escaped to her. I don't know if she had a laptop back then, but she was always drawing things and things like that. Would kind of just go to that.
What about her feelings about her self-image or self-conscious?
Yeah, very. What I took is low self-esteem. Very low self-esteem.
Middle school is hard.
let's talk about middle school and on. Do you recall Nicole ever having friends where, you heard she had a sleepover maybe? And I know you're not living in the home, but you had indicated you're still having direct contact with both Nicole and your mom at times. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and we're talking about middle school still?
Well, at any point, ever remember Nicole talking about, friends she's having over for sleepovers or birthday parties or anything like that? Anything you remember about friends?
Dude, she had one go-to friend a lot, and I don't remember her name or anything, but there was basically one friend. that I
One
remember.
friend her entire childhood as you remember it.
Yes.
Now, at some point
You know
when you
what?
notice the changes that you've just described in
It's
Nicole,
not about quantity,
and
it's
maybe,
about quality.
this issue about friends or not having friends, was she also reporting anything about bullying or people picking on her at school?
Yes.
And did you in fact bring that up to the family? Because now you're not living in Tampa, but did you bring up your concerns or your observations to family members?
About the bullying specifically, or her
In general,
self-esteem?
I'm seeing things different in my sister, whether it be the bullying, the self-conscious. Did you tell anybody in the family?
Yes.
And your mom's response?
She just needs to work on her self-esteem.
Objection, hearsay. I'll sustain as to the specific, don't testify what someone else said.
Did your mom get her any counseling?
Nothing enough.
Did your mom intervene or attempt to address the issues that you voiced to her about the observations you were making about your sister as you sit here today?
Nothing enough.
You, in fact, used the word counseling when describing your concerns to the family. Isn't that right? That she needed counseling,
Yeah, I might have said see someone or talk to somebody. Yeah.
which could be counseling. It could be a guidance counselor. It could be anybody.
Right.
And again, no, as you sit here today, you're not aware of either your mother, your grandmother, or anyone in the family, and I understand you're away, actually taking that step after your recommendation and actually taking Nicole to see somebody or have her talk to somebody.
Nothing enough.
If she was diagnosed with schizophrenia at the age of 3,
Do you know how many different schools your sister went to?
Yeah, 14 or 13.
what?
And we're talking about not counting FSU, but 13 different schools from age, when you start kindergarten at 5 until you graduate high school, let's say 18.
Right.
That's 13 years of life and 13 different schools your sister attended.
Yes.
That's nuts.
Is it fair to say when your mom wanted your sister to do something, she did it?
Yes.
Was your sister someone who was good at speaking up or going against your mom, or would do as your mom said?
Usually just doing what mom said.
Did the phrase "don't tell mom" become a common phrase your sister used with everybody? You, the family, don't tell mom.
I don't want to say common, but she's told me a couple times, don't tell mom about whatever.
I mean, what kid doesn't say
As far
that?
as your mom's behavior towards your sister when it came to her weight or her appearance, you're aware that your mom had your sister get liposuction,
Yes.
and that was not because your sister was like grossly obese and weighed 300 pounds. Your sister's never been grossly obese, correct?
No.
Your mom made your sister get LASIK or was about to make her get LASIK?
She wanted her to get LASIK, yeah.
And as far as you understood, your sister was extremely nervous, scared, and not really wanting to get LASIK.
Yeah, she didn't want anything touching her eyes.
The fat shaming or the comments sometimes would come with regard to your sister's weight. And again, things you didn't understand because your sister wasn't obese.
I don't remember her making comments specifically about the weight, more just make sure she's running and eating properly and things like that.
So your sister would share with you that mom's making me run.
I think so. Yeah.
And it was miles.
Yes.
And you knew that to mean because of your mom believed she was overweight.
Yes.
And it's not like your sister was the athletic type. You'd agree?
Right.
She's not the track star or the runner who would run for enjoyment.
Not that I know of.
Who runs for enjoyment?
Now, at some point, your mom marries Bob, and I think it's in 2004.
Yes.
So Nicole would have been about 10.
Yes.
And you, in fact, didn't even meet Bob until after your mom and him had married.
Correct.
And this was all while they were living in Virginia.
Yes.
And they were obviously married until his death in 2015, so about 11 years.
Yes.
And you met Bob in those 11 years about 4 times.
Yes.
You knew nothing about Bob's family.
Yeah.
Never really saw Bob and your sister interact.
No.
It's not like Bob was taking an active role in the upbringing of your sister, as far as you knew.
As far as I knew. Yeah.
Oh no.
Were you aware that your sister had her own apartment when she was 17, attending Sickles High School here in Tampa?
No.
You didn't know that until this case, is that correct?
It might have been brought up that she was living in an apartment, but I probably just assumed my mom was there with her.
But the fact that it was alone in an apartment by herself for her high school last year or so was not something that you were aware of.
No.
And your family, the Lears at least, your grandmother still lived in Tampa at the time.
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes,
Bob lived in the house in Carrollwood at the time.
I think so.
And Eric and your uncles all were in Tampa, but yet your sister, for whatever reason, had an apartment by herself while she was at Sickles. Is that your understanding now?
Yeah, everybody lived there.
So everybody lived in Tampa, yet she was by herself in an apartment. And what I mean by
I'm assuming
herself,
because that's what I've been told. I mean, I can't verify that. But
now when you were keeping in contact with Nicole for the visits that you described, where it would be summertime or things like that, again, she still was not, and I want to finish on through middle school and high school, she's still not that bubbly, happy kid you remember.
No.
At the times that you're interacting with her during those breaks, you're having to drag her places with your family.
yes,
In fact, in 2011, which Nicole would have been about 17,
15 or 16. Yeah.
okay, your mom actually wanted to send Nicole to live with you in New York,
Yes,
and that didn't happen.
correct.
And why is that?
My mom wanted she wanted her to live with me, and I was all for it, but she wanted a very specific school district and very specific type of house and very specific type of neighborhood. And I was like, that's way more than I can afford. So I said, I can do it. I either need help or you're just gonna have to let me go somewhere else that I can afford. And so ultimately she didn't come up with me.
So that was in 2011 when your mom wanted to send Nicole to live with you up in New York.
Yes.
And where was your mom living at the time, or what was the reason she needed you to take Nicole?
Honestly, I don't know if she was down in Tampa or she was in Virginia.
And in fact, you and your mom didn't speak for several years after that because of that.
A few years, yeah.
And that was because
Wow.
you basically turned her down or refused to do what she asked you to do.
I'm assuming I never found out why she was upset.
Well, common sense would
It
say.
was the last thing we talked about, so.
Now, as far as your sister attending Florida State, based on the observations you had seen up to that point of Nicole, when you would visit, she's 18, getting ready to graduate high school and going off to college. From what you could observe, was she somebody who was capable of caring for herself away at school alone without any supervision?
No.
Was she someone who knew how to pay bills,
No,
have the electricity turned on?
no,
Someone who could function in adult daily life up at college by herself?
no,
The times that she would visit you, would you have to actually tell her when to take a shower?
yes,
And if you didn't, she would go days without showering.
yes,
After she gets to college, it's your understanding that your mom chose Nicole's degree. Is that correct?
yes,
And that this fear Nicole had of your mom about disappointing her or meeting her expectations is still going on in college.
yes.
It's not something that's gone away.
Can you say the question again? I'm sorry.
This fear your sister had, you had said earlier, of meeting your mom's expectations or
yes.
disappointing her, all that's still happening now when we're at Florida State and in college. You'd agree?
Yes,
Now, the summer before your mom and Bob's death, you had indicated your sister came to stay with you for about 3 weeks or a month.
yes,
Mr. Terry had asked you whether Nicole during those few weeks had ever voiced any concerns to you. And I think your answer was just the typical concerns, bullying and things like that at school.
I'm trying to remember. Usually that was nothing out of the ordinary, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, just to clarify, when you say out of the ordinary, to most people, bullying would be a big deal. You'd agree?
Yes,
When you say out of the ordinary, these are things your sister has endured her whole life. So for you, they're out of the ordinary.
well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't even know why I said bullying. I'm trying to think of any complaints specifically during that visit. And if I have a past comment, then sure, I just for some reason can't remember.
Well, in college general, you were aware of bullying, like her roommates throwing her mattress in the hallway,
Oh,
things like that.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
But I guess what I'm trying to clarify is when you say Nicole's not voicing anything out of the ordinary, these were things she had endured and experienced pretty much her entire childhood. So to you, they were out of the ordinary.
Yes.
Because it was, oh, Nicole's getting bullied again. Her roommates are putting her stinky mattress out in the hallway.
Yes.
Okay.
They were not out of the ordinary, is what you mean.
The time that she's staying with you that summer, though, again, she's not bathing unless told to.
Right.
Correct? She would leave in the middle of the night and walk to, I guess, some store down where you live to buy like junk food.
Yes.
And you even had a comment or a discussion with her and said, Nicole, I'll go to the store and buy you what you want.
Right.
But in her mind, she had to go out in the middle of the night to get this snack or this food she wanted.
Yeah, she didn't want to drive. She just wanted to walk and buy it herself.
She would also then, after buying the junk food, despite you talking to her that it's okay, hide the wrappers.
Yes.
You also recall her using her laptop that visit in summer of 2015, correct?
Yes.
And at times you would hear or see her talking to it.
It was just that one incident we were talking about where the laptop was open. I heard giggling and I looked in, maybe some mumbling, but I just assumed she was talking out loud to whatever she was talking to online, like chat room or whatever.
Now, as far as your mom and Bob's death, I want to move to that week. And you had indicated earlier, so Nicole stayed with you about 3 weeks to a month and then came back to Tampa and stayed with your mom up until college was going to begin for the new semester.
I think so, yes.
And I believe you said, and I don't know if you said the date, if you remember what day that week is when you realized you have all the missed calls and texts from your family as if something was wrong.
I don't remember the specific day. It was the morning of everything happened.
So like the 21st of August,
Sure.
after Nicole had already gone to school and the same day of the phone
Yes.
calls. Okay.
Yes.
Now, one of the things you understood from your family when you initially called them back, because your initial concern is Nicole.
Yes.
How is she going to handle this? How is she going to react?
Yes.
And so your understanding is your family had actually told Nicole that your mom was in an accident.
Yes.
And just because they didn't want her driving, thinking, I guess there was a death in the family and
Right.
she may panic. So everyone is concerned about how Nicole is going to handle such a traumatic thing.
Yeah, she's driving from Tallahassee. We don't want to give her bad news like that.
And that's when you had indicated you start looking for flights for yourself and for Nicole from Tallahassee to Tampa.
Yes.
So you call your sister kind of initially just to discuss the travel and let her know, hey, listen, I'm looking for flights. Everything's going to be okay.
Yes.
And I think you testified when Mr. Terry asked you that when she answers the phone, her comment to you is when you say, are you okay, Nicole? So she now knows, or at least believes in your mind, that your mom's been in some sort of accident.
Correct.
In your mind, she already knows that now people are making travel arrangements, so it must be serious.
Yes.
Because you're not going to come from Washington if your mom has a scrape on her wrist, right?
Well, I mean, I was still operating with, I'm pretending that I know there's an accident as well, and we don't know her status, but it's serious. So I just kind of played that role.
My point is, even if you were to believe that Nicole believed it was an accident, it's serious because you're now making travel arrangements for her and you to fly there.
Yes.
And her response to that initial phone call is, hi, Joey, like everything's normal.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was, yeah, like that.
And when I use the word normal, not normal to someone who had just found out something was wrong. She was not acting normal
Not
under
that-
the circumstances.
Under the circumstances, correct.
Come here.
You then tell her, I'm going to call you back, Nicole, because you wanted to really spend time talking to her and making sure she was okay.
Yes,
And you want to continue looking at flights and get the flight before you lose the flight.
correct.
So it's about 30 minutes or so when you call her back.
20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, sure.
And that's when she tells you, I'm going to miss you.
Yes.
You immediately go to, what is she talking about? Is she going to hurt herself, commit suicide, or do something like that?
Right.
And that's when she says, I did it, I shot him. And she says it in like a whisper voice.
Yes.
After she tells you that, she then begins crying hysterically.
Yes,
And now she's talking and you're not being able to make sense of anything she's saying.
correct.
And so we're clear as far as the time frame. This is August 21st, that Friday. About what time do you think this conversation is happening in the morning?
I'm going to guess around 7:45, 8 o'clock.
Your time, what would it have been in Tampa time?
10:45, 11 o'clock.
Okay. Late morning of Friday the 21st for us, a little earlier for you.
Yes.
Clearly.
She starts crying and is talking crazy. It's nothing you can even comprehend.
Yes.
She then tells you, if I'd only gotten the news about the dorms earlier, I wouldn't have had to do it.
Yes.
You now know that she had not secured a dorm in time.
Now, yes. I
Okay.
know.
And that's what she was talking about.
Yes.
But at the time she tells you that, you have no idea, what is she saying that I wouldn't have had to shoot him if I had only gotten the dorm.
Right.
You'd agree that her not securing a dorm in time would have been something that angered your mother.
Yes.
It would have been a very big mistake, issue, ordeal in your mother's eyes.
Yeah.
Oh no.
She then tells you that she's had screaming in her head since London and things were really bad.
Yes.
She describes pressure or feeling pressure.
Lay down.
Now, your sister studied abroad in London in 2013, correct? Her freshman year?
I think so.
Okay. So this is 2015. So the screaming she's describing to you, if the time frame's right, is going on for about 2 years.
Correct.
She also described not being able to sleep and having nightmares since that time frame.
Yes.
She told you that she didn't think she could shoot Bob, but that after she did, she went and sat on her bed and the screaming had gone away a little bit,
Yes.
but that the screaming was still there.
Yes.
She then told you that she had wanted to jump out of her bedroom window to avoid seeing your mom or having contact with your mom that evening.
Yes.
After shooting Bob.
Correct.
But that she mistimed it and your mom confronts her in the driveway.
Yes.
Now, you used the word confront back when you spoke to law enforcement right after this happened. Is that your recollection of what Nicole told you, that it was a confrontation between her and your mom in the driveway?
No, literally what my sister said was she ran into her in the driveway and said, "Nikki, what the fuck are you doing here?"
You want to look at your statement that you gave to Detective Messer on August 26th of 15 and how you described this confrontation? Would that refresh your memory as to what she said?
I mean, you can tell me what I said. Maybe I used the word I mean, I don't mean confront as in a challenge. It was the way she portrayed it to me on the phone was a question. So if she felt confronted or challenged, maybe that's something else. But the way it was portrayed to me was a question.
What do you mean a question?
Well, she's surprised that she's there. So what are you doing here?
Well, you said to Detective Messer, you told me you wanted me to tell you. And my mom confronted her about being there. And then you asked Detective Messer, do you want verbatim cussing? And that's when you said, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yes.
That's how you described it to Detective Messer back in August of 2015, that it was your mom confronting her about why is she there.
So I want to be careful about saying confronting in terms of like anger. The way it was told to me on the phone, the way I remember it wasn't really an anger question. My mom liked to cuss a lot. Sorry. But she, what the fuck are you doing here?
Is what the fuck you're doing here, are you indicating as an inviting term for somebody to take that as a happy question?
No.
And the fact that your sister would have been at the house when she's supposed to be at college would have been a problem in your mom's mind, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we're not making this out to be the way your sister
here?
describes it is. She's basically being caught at the house when she's not supposed to be there, correct?
Yes.
And your mom says, what the fuck are you doing here?
Correct. But I just don't take it as anger because there could be a million reasons why she's there. The whole conversation with my sister talking to me about why she's there in the first place tells me that there didn't need to be a confrontation.
There didn't need, in your mind. We're not in your mind. We're in your sister's mind.
Right. So in my mind, it didn't come across as confrontational. It came across as a question.
What the fuck are you doing here? As in, like, that's a happy, inviting comment.
No, it's not.
Like, what the fuck are you doing here?
She actually described to your sister that she mistimed jumping out the window and your mom getting there.
Yes.
Okay, that's how this, we won't use the word confrontation if you don't want, but that's how this meeting in the driveway happened, because she mistimed jumping out the window and then your mom basically sees her in the driveway.
Yes.
Your sister also told you that when she drove to town.
But it was still premeditated because she moved her car so her mom wouldn't see her car there. It doesn't even matter because she's still premeditated. And she said, oh, she chickened out. And then she was like, oh, never mind. I don't want to kill her anymore.
To Tallahassee, you described these signs she saw in her dorm
She described it being at the dorm.
and seeing signs.
Yes.
As if the signs were talking to her in some way or sending her a message.
She saw the signs and felt like that was reassurance that she needed to go back and finish it.
Almost like it was meant to happen.
Yes.
She also told you during that conversation that it was like a weight had been lifted off of her shoulders.
Yes.
Yes. I can't get it closed. Oh my God, dog.
Now, you had indicated, and going back to the exact statements and the sequence of events, it's obviously been 4 years. Yes?
Yes.
And as far as the sequence of the terms and exactly the wording she used isn't exactly 100% imaged in your head. Is that fair to say?
My sisters?
Yes. As
Yes.
far as the order of things,
I know.
her exact wording, not something you remember completely as you sit here today.
Correct.
Do
But in
you?
August of 2015, when you're interviewed
No.
by law enforcement, it's a lot more fresher, and there's a transcript
lot
interview
more
with her as
fresher.
well. You remember
You
Nicole
don't
telling
even
you
know
at that
how
time.
to speak
Yes.
of the English. Speaking the English.
Now, after you hang up with Nicole, you talk to the family, and you all decide, what are we going to do? Are we going to get her a lawyer? Or are we going to help her? And the
What
decision
do
is
we
made
do?
to help her.
Yes.
And so this is you and your uncles kind of collectively talking.
Yes.
And you call her back and you actually advise her, ask for an attorney when the law enforcement officer or the detective comes up there.
Yes.
And don't talk to them without an attorney.
Correct.
Don't say
And your sister is
shit.
somebody who's going to take your advice or listen to you as her older brother.
Yeah, I would think so.
would
Yeah.
say so. She can't even shower when she's supposed to. Dog, go lay down. If you pee on the
I
floor.
want to ask you a little bit more about that interview with law enforcement. When you were interviewed by Detective Messer on August 26th, that happened back in 15. That happened at your grandmother's house.
Yes.
Because they waited for you to arrive in Tampa and then they conducted an interview here. Correct?
Yes.
And when you were interviewed by Detective Messer, you in fact relayed this fear your sister had of your mom.
Yes.
In fact, you used the terms, your sister was scared to death of your mom.
Yes.
Anything in life that your mom didn't approve of, your sister feared.
Yes.
You told Detective Messer that in fact your sister was like a child when it came to your mom.
Yes.
And that after she's talking to you and telling you what she's done, she didn't appear to really grasp the seriousness of the situation.
Clearly not.
Can you say that one more time?
As she's talking to you and even after the event, it was like being arrested didn't seem like a big deal to her. That was your
she's-
impression.
Right.
She wasn't grasping the seriousness of the situation she was in.
I can no longer hear you.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 12 and tell me if you recognize that and how you recognize it.
Yes, the visitation video.
Okay. That's, and your initials are on that?
Yes.
And you viewed that just prior to today?
Yes.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the jail visit that you had with your sister shortly after her arrest in 2015?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, I'd introduce Defense Exhibit 12. Permission to publish?
You may publish.
What is it?
Just to put it in context for the jury, after she's arrested, she's at the jail and you're getting ready to go back and you actually conduct a jail face-to-face visit with her.
Yes.
And she's now in jail charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder for the death of your mom and Bob. Yes?
Yes.
And this is the visitation that comes right before you're going to leave.
Yes.
Your mom and Bob. Dog. Oh, whatever. Lay down. Thank you. I'll take you out in a minute.
Hey, Chili.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Are you?
Yeah. Yeah. I am I've been needing someone helping me 3 times a day. And like I have no problems looking in the mirror. I actually weighed myself and I wasn't even scared. I had no problems looking in the mirror and stuff. And I've been able to, my head's been clear and, no stress, no anxiety. I've been able to sleep better.
That's good. Just to let you know before, 'cause I'm not sure how long this stuff will last. I think
It's
it's
like 40 minutes, yeah.
okay. Well, I added more money to the calling fund,
Mhm.
whatever, so they can call me collect. But I only have enough for 3 calls.
That's
I
fine.
didn't know that first one. I didn't know that first time you called me was only 1 minute. I
It didn't even feel a minute.
thought it was just like at least 5-10 minutes. But just letting you know, if you need to call me again, I got 3 calls on there,
Mhm.
and they said at least for 15 minutes piece. So, it's kind of expensive, so try not to use it just
I
for,
won't. Emergencies.
yeah, and then definitely if you call me, tell me the important stuff first.
Yeah, and I can always write to you too.
Yeah, I got the address here too on how to do it. I gotta get like your booking number and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can give it to you right now if you want.
Well, they don't give me anything to write with. Is it long?
No, it's only 8 numbers. And yeah,
But save it for the next phone call because I can't write down anything with this.
that's fine. So how's the kids in Canada?
They're fine back in Washington now. He's supposed to start his strong beginnings preschool thing in about another week.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Is he at the age where he's into superheroes right now?
No, he doesn't quite understand them yet. He's still watching like regular cartoons. He likes movies where there's action scenes, like visuals, but he doesn't quite understand.
Oh, well, I know my favorite superhero.
Yeah.
You. But Charles Xavier comes close.
Thanks. Compared to a purple ball guy.
Why? Yeah, he gets to tell other superheroes what to do.
Yeah. So are you with other people or are you by yourself?
Right.
No, I mean
I mean, there's no security guards, I guess.
No, I mean like yourself.
Oh, by myself, yeah.
Okay. Are they talking about putting you with like other people?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Probably better off anyway.
You're okay by yourself for a while?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I'll just make sure. I don't know. I don't know like flaking it for you. Okay.
It's not too bad.
And I can't stay too long because remember I was telling you yesterday.
Yeah, I know you're busy. I just trying to get calls really hard last time.
Yeah. No, I'm losing things around second, but I gotta leave somewhat soon. Probably next 10 or 15 minutes. I can't stay on for 40 minutes.
Oh, but yeah, I know. I can't talk for 40 minutes either.
Yeah. What kind of food do they give you?
It's usually sandwiches and stuff.
Okay.
So it's actually pretty good. I just been eating junk food before, so it's like it's finally good to eat some healthy stuff.
Yeah. They have this thing called eye care packages. I don't know if they talked to you about it.
I saw like an envelope about it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like goodies or
Like if you can send other things.
I don't know if it's like candy or if it's personal products or a combination of both or whatever. But I'll look into doing that so we can send you some stuff randomly and put some money in your canteen. I don't know what kind of stuff you can buy with that, but maybe
Yeah. I think I got some stuff. I saw the list. It's mostly like food and personal hygiene stuff.
Okay, well, so would you want some of that?
I think I ordered some already. From the other thing you said, from the other canteen you said, I think.
Yeah, but when they transferred it, they said that most except for $50 in there, and between both of the facilities, processing fees and all that kind of crap, it's like $4 left in there, I think.
Wow.
So yeah, so I gotta look up how to deposit into his working. But
Yeah, we probably should have waited. I guess I didn't think I'd be, because I got the canteen over there, or around the day the next day I had to leave, so it's like I put it in
yeah,
nothing.
weird because I wanted you to get it quick so you can get some warm underwear because he said it was cold in there, but I guess they got you out of it pretty quick, so it wasn't too big a deal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, jail life is hard.
Yeah, everything actually I fine in reading. So we have books here.
reading too? Good.
Yeah, so I was hoping I wish I could at the Barnes and Nobles they have these like books maybe the size of novels, but they like novel size books, but they're for writing. Maybe nice to get one of those to write something, like write a story. I like to write.
So they got pencils and pens and stuff?
Oh yeah, I can get that too.
Okay, yeah, because I get you, maybe we can get a notepad or something, you can get your drawings again,
Yeah, I just like we're looking at books to write stories. I do. I've been reading these books that I've been writing.
Okay, good.
I know this is weird. I just feel so much better, and I'm really glad you were able to make it talk for me for a few minutes.
Yeah, exactly, leave tomorrow, and this would be like the last, I was hoping to be able to see at least once,
Yeah.
tomorrow 11, to make sure to check on you.
I was.
She feels so much better.
I just kept thinking that once I get out of here, get a job and get you guys some gifts, get you something nice. Maybe I want to.
No, I understand, but, don't worry, don't talk about the case or anything.
Right, I'm just saying. I asked her if I could talk about after everything.
Why is this helpful to the defense? To show that she's perfectly
Stay
fine
with David the past couple days.
afterwards?
Oh yeah.
Madison, cute, very cute baby.
Aww.
Yeah.
So did you want to talk yet?
Hey, no, she said like apple. Apple, and she called me mommy. She called us both mommy.
Joey, that's something you're not telling me.
I know, it's like, it's giving me a complex. No, she's having a lot of fun though. She just had a birthday, so yeah, they went back Wednesday or last Wednesday, and then I go back tomorrow. So yeah.
You know, you should write to me when it's their birthday so I can, write it back. It's because I don't have the address.
Yeah, that's all right. Next time you end up calling me, I'll get the booking number so I can. Or I can go get the booking number on the way up or something.
I'm sure you can ask. I can tell you some numbers and see if you can remember it. Just. Oh yeah, sure she knows.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
And if not, they can always leave the meeting. I can just relay all the information to you.
Other than that, what's your cell look like? The little toilet?
Yeah. And the little toilet, I got bumped in a bar in there, so I can stretch things out. The mirror is pretty big, so I was like, at first I thought I was gonna get uncomfortable looking at it, but I'm like, oh, that look nice.
Yeah. Do they let you out to exercise or anything?
So far I haven't really been out, except maybe to shower kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it scheduled times?
And if there, I think there is, but I'm just not sure because depending on who keeps walking by, sometimes they're helpful and sometimes they're really not. And that's why I had trouble with the paper because the person,
Oh gosh.
I need to write your name on a piece of paper. And I asked if she would provide it, and then I thought she was, and an hour later I asked what's the update, and she's like, I don't want here to supply you with pencil and paper. You're supposed to write it. Like, I don't have any pencil and paper. Like, what's that? That's mail. I don't have, that's stuff people wrote to me. I don't even have a pencil or any paper. And she kind of didn't believe me. She kind of rolled her eyes and walked off. So you gotta be careful. There's something, another sheriff, when I talked to my, she had one of the security guys was nice enough to leave the paper with it on my desk. So that's why I had trouble, but it's kind of like, I got the paper until after, I was done with my thing.
Alright, so are you okay with your daily routine and all that?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
You getting adjusted?
Yeah, been sleeping comfortably. Like I said, I even weighed myself and I don't feel too bad about it. I'm like, supposedly 137, like usually I'm supposed to be 100 apparently, according to somebody. And so,
How much would it?
I know, but it really did, but it doesn't eat at me. It doesn't really eat at me anymore. So I'm like, I'm feeling so much better.
Alright, do you have any questions?
No, but I'm gonna. I think about that. What was that thing about the care packet thing? I can, like I said, if I have anything, I can tell. Like I would like to write something. Maybe write a story and then send it to you. I don't know.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
All right.
Get let the creative juices out of your head.
I know, but I have to. But since it's kind of hard because most readers have to do research. I wish I had a history textbook to read. Oh well.
Wasn't that your degree?
No, she had me change. Mom had me change it to international affairs.
Oh, that's what I wanted you to get.
Yeah, it was.
I wanted you to do more with it. But that was,
Honestly, when in high school, I was thinking of psychology or forensics, but she said no.
well, as long as you got something that you could work with. When you graduate. So maybe you become a good writer in there. Whatever you want to do. That's the whole point. Is do what you want to do to be happy.
Right.
If you want to be a writer, be a writer. If you really want to do history degree, get a history degree.
Right.
But do what makes you happy. Because that's something that is your life.
I know.
So
I definitely don't know.
practice writing, huh?
I definitely don't know that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you practice your writing, practice drawing again, practice. Can you guys watch movies now? Can you get movies?
Sometimes we put a portion of the movie on. It's usually closer to the end kind of thing, but better than nothing. I usually read books now.
You have a clock over there for the time?
Oh, I wish. No, I had to ask the people the time. And like I said, depending on who you ask, they're nice and they're like, you need another time. Like, I'm here.
I gotta do somewhere pretty soon.
Oh, yeah, no, it's fine. I think I got everything on there.
Probably got 2-3 more minutes at least though.
Well, like I said, I can just talk if I have any questions or you say something.
Use you have hair products in there? You look like your hair's loosed or
That's probably the hair products. But that's okay.
all natural grease.
Probably all natural grease from probably from the leftover to the food.
Thank you.
Hey, I actually like my hair now.
No, it's nice too.
I know.
You look rested. You look like you're.
My skin got better.
It's just The process could take a while. You
I know. Yeah, my skin's gotten better too.
I'm just hoping you don't go kind of crazy in there.
Oh, I don't think I can.
You're better. You feel better in there.
Yeah, I do.
You feel better in jail.
All right. Any other questions?
That's sad.
Nope. I can always, like I said, I can always, tell things that's something important. All right. Yeah, I probably need I think I got a letter from George. He wanted me to. I think he wanted me to.
Jail is
send a letter
better
telling me to
than
put him on the
the
list or something like
freedom
that, but
and
I
the
don't
life
know
she
that.
had out
I think
here.
it's a George Lair, J. Larry, I can't even, but I don't know his.
That's
I
saying
don't think
something.
it said his
What's your letter asking to put him on the visitation list?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see, like I said, when I was doing the form, I had filled the form, just you, but, I think it didn't, I don't think his birthday was on there or something like that, I don't think he had that much.
You need his phone number too, right?
I think he puts his phone number down, but it's like, I also wanted to know about what else we probably need to talk about, kind of thing, that's fine.
So I'll talk to Kenny and find out and let him know that that's why you can't schedule him. You need his number, his birthday. I have the paper here that tells me all that. So
Yeah.
But you're gonna need it, right? You need
Yeah,
his
okay,
phone number.
yeah, because I think I saw his phone
Is there a
number.
way you can write all this stuff down?
Well, he sent me a postcard with his stuff. He sent a postcard, yeah, he sent a postcard with his number on it at least.
Oh, but it was missing something?
I think it was missing like his birthday and address.
But it's something you did yourself?
He has myself, he has my be.
Okay, well,
Only
well,
thing
I'll
is
tell him
just,
everything he needs. He can send it again with absolutely everything on there.
yeah,
That way you can schedule a visit. So let's say that he wants to come visit you. I don't know if he wanted to. I don't know.
how's grandma doing?
You know, she's okay. Obviously she was upset. But
Mhm.
we got family everywhere that's getting everybody through everything, so,
Yeah,
same thing, same
okay,
thing. Just, let's not even talk about that.
alright,
Alright?
alright.
Okay, I guess that's pretty much everything. I'll try and look into the eye care package. We love you, we all love you. And we'll keep praying.
Yeah, I think we should just, gone military after high school.
Just don't even talk.
I know. Alright, I should probably go.
Okay, alright, love you.
I love you too.
I'll send you some stuff. I don't know if it's sooner rather than later, I'm not sure. I gotta look at how
I'm
much.
not very patient, I have most of my stuff. Well, I got plenty of stuff to last me a while.
Okay.
It's not like, I'm paying to be fit, so it's not like, so it's like a meeting. Eating and reading.
Keep doing your daily routine.
Mhm.
Just keep trying and do your stuff, okay?
I am.
Alright, thank you.
Alright, see you, Joey. Or talk to you later. Bye.
So a couple of just things to recap from that video. Obviously, you were visiting her after her arrest for the 2 counts of murder.
Yes.
And she's describing to you how her head is clear now.
Yes.
She basically says that she's feeling no stress and no anxiety
Yes.
despite being in jail.
Yes.
And at this point, she,
The question, I asked that she asked questions, she's just restating what was stated on the
All right,
evidence.
that's the question.
what do you recall her describing about how she's feeling while she's in jail?
She felt happy. Can look in the mirror, relieved.
Do you recall her also discussing the weight issues and how she just felt good about herself?
Yes.
I want to ask you about the portion, if you recall, about her telling you when she gets out what she was going to do for you and your family.
Yes.
What do you recall her saying?
From the video,
Yes.
she was gonna buy us presents and get a job and basically that.
So even a week or two up until after her arrest, she still thinks she's at some point going to get out and be able to still interact with the family and
Yes.
be in society, basically.
Yes.
That's not unusual. A lot of people that do heinous things still think that.
I want to ask you kind of a little bit about the current situation of the family. Since, I guess, the incident, there's some members of your family that aren't speaking right now. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
You haven't spoken to your grandmother, Miriam, in about 2 years?
I spoke to her last week.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Prior to last week, how long had it been since you spoke to her?
Probably a couple of years. Yeah.
And you spoke to her because you would come down for the trial?
Yes.
And you also haven't spoken to your Uncle Eric?
Correct.
I can have a moment?
Yeah.
Should ask why. Why though?
I don't have any other questions. Thank you, Mr. Carey.
State asked why.
Is it, can we approach?
Yes. Before the redirect is going to take a little longer. It's 11 o'clock. We'll go ahead and take about a 10 or 15 minute break, and then we'll come back and do the redirect. Please do not discuss the case amongst yourselves or anyone else. Please do not do any research related to the case, and please avoid any exposure to the case outside of the courtroom. All rise for the jury. Jury's exited. Everyone may be seated. You may sit down. We'll be at recess for about 10, 15 minutes. Please don't discuss the case with any of the attorneys unless all the attorneys are present. It takes them a couple minutes. You don't have to stand now. They'll let us know.
I just copied everybody else.
I certainly understand stretching. I'm going to stand and stretch my legs. Doing a lot of sitting in here. Jury's present, seated. Everyone else may be seated this time. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, welcome back. Anyone have any exposure, discussion, or research in any way related to the case during the break? Let the record reflect there are no hands. Thank you. Mr. Terry, you may begin the redirect.
Mr. Carey, defense's exhibits 3A and 3B. 3A, who took that picture?
I believe that would have been my mom.
How about 3B? Who do you think probably took that picture?
Probably my mom.
Now, you described earlier that there was a contentious custody battle between Nicole Nachtman and between Miriam, your mom, and her Nicole's father, Ronald Nachtman, correct?
Yes.
All right, and you described it as messy.
Yes.
Now, would you, at the same time, you've told this jury that Nicole seemed happy as a child, was that right?
Yes.
All right, and did you believe she was a happy child?
Yes.
Do you think she was affected by the divorce in any way that you were able to see?
No.
That's speculation.
The question was that you saw. Caution the witness not to speculate, only testify to things that you observed or had personal knowledge of.
I did not see her affected.
Okay. And when she grew up, did your mom provide her things?
Yes.
Did your mom, in your opinion, do you believe your mom tried to make a happy home for her?
Yes.
Now, your mom's in the military, was that right?
She was active for a while and then she joined the reserves.
And what particular branch was she?
The Navy.
And did she in fact recently get a promotion or something?
Yeah, she became a captain, so 06.
As part of her work with the Navy and in the reserves, was your mom, was she often deployed?
She deployed to launch dual Germany while I was in Arizona for about a year or two. But then she was able to, they put her on a lot of different types of orders. So not always deployments, but, random TDYs or, different types of orders that keep her employed doing that for however long, yes.
And during those times, she would have to have a place for Nicole to stay, correct?
Yes.
And during one of those deployments, did she stay with your grandmother?
Yes.
Okay. And was she also deployed the year that Nicole Nachtman was living in an apartment by Sickles High School?
I don't know.
Okay, you're not sure of that. Speaking of that, were you aware that the home in Carrollwood was not zoned for Sickles? It's actually Gaither. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Do you know whether or not your mom got the apartment near Sickles in order so that she could continue to go to school at Sickles?
Objection asked and answered. He said he didn't know.
That's overruled. This is a different question.
Can you say it again?
Do you know whether or not she, or so that Nicole could continue to go and attend school at Sickles?
I believe that's what I found out, yes.
Now, you've described
Got him.
demanding, I can believe,
Yes.
strict. Did you say strict?
Yes.
Do you
Well,
feel like
you know what?
she wanted you all
She
to
was in
excel?
the military.
Do you feel like anytime she was upset or angry with you, it was because
Because why? Because why? Shit.
do you know if, as well as Nicole was 17 or so when she got that apartment in Sickles, do you know if your mom wanted her to start being more independent, not being so dependent on, to grow up, in other words?
Absolutely, yes.
Seems pretty reasonable to me.
Now, when Ms. Hersey Fulgera described it over and over again as you running away, you were in Tampa, correct?
Yes.
And you got out of the car because you did not want to go to Virginia.
Correct.
And where did you go?
I stayed at my grandma's.
So You didn't go out on the streets.
No.
You didn't go try and stay in hotel rooms or work the streets to get away.
No.
So when she described running away, basically you just got out of the car and said, I'm going to stay here at grandmother's.
Yes.
And you said that in middle school, she started to change around sixth grade, getting closer to teenage years.
Yes.
Would you find it common that people, as they're growing up, start to change? They may not dance and sing like they used to, especially
Yes.
teenagers.
I would agree with that.
You described your
My
mom
teenager
as
does not
wanting her
dance
to get
and sing
LASIK.
like he used to.
Did you yourself encourage her to get the LASIK?
I told her, I had LASIK and it was totally fine and it's a good thing to do, especially if somebody's paying for it. So I was like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. But I would suggest it.
And by this time, she's 21 years old, right?
Yes.
And when it came to Nicole's weight or looks, you remember your mom basically just telling you she would say, make sure she's running and eating properly. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You mentioned that Nicole was scared of your mom.
Yes.
Was she scared of her? Did you ever, in the times that you were home and the times you were around, did you ever see your mom physically hit Nicole?
No.
Did Nicole ever tell you that she was scared of your mom physically hurting her in any way?
No.
Was she maybe scared of not meeting your mom's expectations or getting yelled at?
Yes.
And going back to the fact that she got that apartment near Sickles, the falling out you and your mom had a few years ago or years before that had to do with the fact that your mom wanted you to get in a good school district up there so that she could come live with you. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And that was the main reason she wanted you to move was because of the school district. Was that?
Object to leading?
No, sustain rephrase.
Was it important to your mom that Nicole be in some good schools?
Yes.
Because did you want her to get a good education?
Yes.
Now, I know you indicated you didn't talk for 3 years. Did you all start talking again?
Yes.
At the time your mom was killed, were you and your mom were you all talking and,
Yes.
and having a regular
Yeah.
relationship?
Phone calls, text messages, emails.
You mentioned your mom at one point saying when Nicole told you, her mom said, when she ran into her mom goes, what the fuck are you doing here? And you said it's not uncommon for your mom to cuss.
Correct.
And you kind of looked and said your mom cusses a lot. Is that right?
Yes.
Did your mom always cuss when she was angry?
Yes.
Did your mom sometimes cuss when she was happy?
Yes.
Did your mom just sometimes cuss in general about things?
She loves cuss.
Okay. So it's not uncommon. That would not be uncommon for her to look at Nicole, who's seen someone who's not supposed to be there, to say, what the fuck are you doing here? Like,
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
You also indicated to the jury that you felt that
She
Nicole
was in the
functioned
Navy.
at school.
I feel like
FSU?
that is just
Like
normal.
herself, you mean?
Yes.
Correct.
All right. However, did she not? Did she not go to London on her own?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and she spent a semester abroad in London on her own. She was able to do that, right?
Yeah, and I had talked about this before. It's really hard for me to imagine her paying bills and things like that. But then she would drive long distances and do things that were kind of surprising to me. So, to say that she can't is, I don't know. At first I didn't think so, but after learning that kind of stuff, it's
Well, she was able to get her housing situation straightened out on her own.
Yes.
In this
Yes,
case,
to the leading.
was she able to get her housing straightened out for that year?
yes.
And do you know if she managed her housing on her own all the semesters?
I don't know.
And she was clearly intelligent enough to get into the Florida State University, right?
Yes.
Going back to the situation, how you indicated she would say, don't tell mom.
Yes.
You said a couple of times she said that. Did you find that particularly strange?
I don't want to say strange. It was over. I thought the reason was strange. I mean, she bought the one I'm remembering is she bought a sword from a Renaissance fair and took a significant portion of the money that my mom was giving her. And so she called and left the voicemail saying, don't tell mom, just tell her you bought the sword. She calls next.
Okay, because she didn't want your mom to know she was spending money on things she should be spending money on.
Right.
Okay. But like, for instance, she broke her computer. Did she break her computer one day?
And her laptop.
And what did your mom do when she found out she broke her computer?
Bought her a brand new laptop.
Bought her a brand new laptop?
Yeah.
If I can have one moment.
Absolutely.
No further questions.
See, I would have cussed about that. The fuck did you burn? How did you break your goddamn laptop?
You don't need to remain outside, but you are subject to recall. But you may step down as a witness at this time.
Well, what the hell is the next 26 minutes? Oh, more talking. We get to listen to more talking. That's fun.
Ready with the stipulations, I believe?
Yes, sir. At this time, the state will move into evidence, State Exhibit number 68 and State Exhibit number 69.
Is there any objection to those coming into evidence?
Yes, sir.
All right, and these are stipulations. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, stipulations are facts that the parties have agreed to, and I'm going to read them to you. They should be considered as any other facts that you consider in the case. The first is stipulation to victim's identity, and it reads, the state of Florida and the defendant Nicole Jean Nachtman stipulate to the following. The person who died on the 20th day of August 2015 at 14108 Fensbury Drive has been identified as Miriam Carey Deans, the individual named in count 2 of the indictment in this case. We hereby certify that the foregoing stipulation is made in good faith and for reasons herein alleged dated this 30th day of July 2019, and then it is signed by Ms. Percy Bulgaria, attorney for the defendant, John Terry, assistant state attorney, and Nicole Jean Nachtman. The next stipulation is also titled Stipulation to Victim's Identity, and this is exhibit number 69. The previous was exhibit number 68. Number 69 reads, the state of Florida and the defendant Nicole Jean Nachtman stipulate to the following. The person who died between the 18th day of August 2015 and the 20th day of August 2015 at 14110 Fensbury Drive has been identified as Robert J. Deans, the individual named in count 1 of the indictment in this case. We hereby certify that the foregoing stipulation is made in good faith and for the reasons herein alleged, dated this 30th day of July 2019, and it is signed by Ms. Dana Percy Bulgaria, attorney for the defendant, John Terry, assistant state attorney, and Nicole Jean Nachtman. Anything else from the state?
Your Honor, at this point, the state rests.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, state having rested their case, you may recall from the instructions in the beginning that we would now turn to the defense, but we're going to go ahead and take our lunch break. It is 11:30. I'm going to give you till 1 o'clock. So that's an hour and a half lunch today. And then at 1 o'clock, we'll come back and we'll pick up with the defense case. Please do not discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Do not do any research related to the case and avoid all exposure to any reports about this case outside of the courtroom. All rise for the jury. Please have a nice lunch. Jury is exited. Everyone may be seated. No. I understand.
Did you say you want to get started before?
No, let's go ahead and get started. I haven't had a chance to read those cases yet. I didn't have enough time during the last break, and unfortunately, I left them in my office. But we can get started while those cases are being delivered to me.
Judge, the first case I'll cite to is Mungeon v. State, that's 689 Southern 2nd, 1026. It's a Supreme Court of Florida case from 1995. The facts that the state presented in this case to support premeditation were that the victim was shot once in the head at close range. The only injury was a gunshot wound, that the defendant had procured the murder weapon in advance and had used it before, and that the gun required a 6-pound pole to fire. But the evidence was also consistent with the killing that occurred on the spur of the moment. There were no statements indicating that the defendant had intended to kill the victim, no witnesses to the events preceding the shooting, and no continuing attack that would have suggested premeditation. And for all of those reasons, the court in this case indicated that premeditation for purposes of first-degree murder had not been proven, and therefore a judgment of acquittal should have been granted. The second case is Kirkland v. State. It's a Supreme Court of Florida case, 684 Southern 2nd, 732. The facts of that case were that the victim was murdered via a very deep, complex, irregular wound of the neck. The wound cut off the victim's ability to breathe and caused extensive bleeding. At the time of the murder, the defendant was living with her mother, and her brother, and they were all living in the same dwelling as the victim. When the murder occurred, two of the family members were in Tallahassee. When they returned home, they discovered the dead body of the family member in a bedroom of the dwelling. The facts had indicated that the defendant had actually left and traveled to Atlanta and then to Fort Myers after the murders. The court ultimately found that the evidence of premeditation was insufficient to support a conviction for first-degree murder. The state argued that the victim, having suffered a severe neck wound that caused her to bleed to death or suffocate, was evidence of premeditation, that the wound was caused by many slashes, and that the neck wound that the victim had suffered appeared to be the result of blunt force trauma. So there must have been another wound. There was evidence indicating that both the knife and a walking cane were used during the attack, and that there had been previous friction between the family members, the decedent and the defendant prior. And that was the state's argument as to evidence of premeditation. However, what the court ruled is that the state's evidence was insufficient in light of the strong evidence against a finding of premeditation. And Judge, if you have Kirkland now in front of you,
I do.
I'm on page 2 on the right-hand side,
Give me one moment.
second paragraph.
You said page 2,
Yes, sir.
right-hand column, second paragraph?
Yes, the first paragraph is what I just read. That was the state's argument in their hopes of premeditation, and this is what the court ultimately
I'm
concluded.
there.
There was no suggestion that the defendant exhibited, mentioned, or even possessed an intent to kill the victim at any time prior to the actual homicide. There were no witnesses to the events immediately preceding the homicide, and there was no evidence suggesting that the defendant made any special arrangements to obtain a murder weapon in advance of the homicide. The court went on to say that the state presented scant, if any, evidence to indicate that the defendant committed the homicide according to some preconceived plan. And the court ultimately held that that was insufficient evidence to support a finding of premeditation. I think both cases are very similar in the sense that Mungin involved gunshot wounds. Again, no witnesses present, nothing to suggest any premeditation or preconceived plan. And then Kirkland involved the defendant actually leaving town after the homicides and indicating that there had maybe even been some problems within the family between the defendant and the victim. And that was
She
not
moved
enough
her car.
for premeditated first-degree murder.
That's all.
I will analogize it to our facts as soon as I'm done, Judge, with the cases. Norton is the third case, again, a Supreme Court of Florida case, 709, 7 second,
She
87.
moved her car.
I got it.
You go to page 4 of the opinion, it discusses the lack of premeditation. We find there is a complete absence of evidence to support a finding of premeditation. The total absence of
She was
evidence as to
gonna
the
sneak up on her
circumstances
mother.
specifically surrounding the shooting goes against a finding of premeditation in that case. And
She
again,
moved her
that's
car.
what we have.
She was
Court
gonna
goes
sneak up on her
page 5
mom.
to go
Her
through
mom didn't
all
know
of
she
the
was
evidence
there.
individually. First, there's no evidence as to a possible motive. We recognize
Premeditated.
that motive is not an essential element of homicide, whereas here the proof of a crime rests on circumstantial evidence. Motive may become important. Second, there were no witnesses to the shooting or to the events immediately preceding the shooting. Third, there was no evidence of a continuing attack, suggesting the possibility of premeditation. Fourth, the state elicited no evidence suggesting that the appellant had intended to kill the victim. Fifth, there was no evidence that appellant procured a murder weapon in advance of the homicide. And finally, the fact that the appellant may have taken steps to conceal evidence of a crime does not establish that he committed the murder with a preconceived plan or design. The third case is Bigham, Bigham, 995 Southern 2nd, 207.
I'm there. Got it.
Judge, I'll just cite that one for the record. There's really nothing distinguishable from the cases that I've just stated. However, in Hoforth, the last case, which is HOEFERT 617 Southern 2nd, 1046, this focuses on what's done after a homicide. And I, in fact, cite this case, and I believe it's Norton for the proposition that the jury should be instructed that anything that's not been may have done after the killings in no way is evidence of premeditation. And that's what this proposition is for this case stands for. The fact that she may have cleaned up the scene, the fact that she may have driven to Tallahassee after, in no way should be a consideration when determining the elements for premeditation. So now let's talk about our case, Judge, and why I believe our case is similar to the cases that I've just cited. There is absolutely no evidence. First of all, there's no witnesses to either shooting. There is absolutely no evidence as we sit here right now to indicate when Ms. Nachtman retrieved that firearm from the gun case that appears to be open. There's not even evidence to suggest, or at least concrete evidence to suggest that that case had a firearm to begin with. All we have is an empty fire case, and we have a firearm that has not been retrieved. There is no witnesses who testified that the last time I saw that case, there was a firearm in it. Joseph Carey wasn't asked. David Lear, the cousin, who had been to the house several times and says he spent a lot of time there, wasn't asked, where did they keep the firearm? So there is no evidence as to when Ms. Nachtman retrieved that firearm prior to shooting Bob. There's no witnesses to the shooting of Bob. The evidence suggests that either Bob was sitting in a
Because
recliner
they're
watching
dead.
a movie because the movie is on pause when the cops get there, or possibly something happens in the kitchen. No evidence whatsoever to establish that she had ever expressed ill will toward Bob. She had ever even made a
She was
negative
sitting there
comment about
watching the
Bob to
movie,
indicate that she had
waiting
a
on
motive
her
or
mom to
frequency of
get
planning to kill
home.
Bob.
Her mom
There's
got
absolutely
home,
no evidence to
and then
that
she killed
premeditation
her.
as it relates to Bob. As it relates to Mom, the facts are a little different, and I'll concede that. She is in that house at some point with a dead body, possibly for a day. However, again, having no witnesses and the evidence suggesting that she's trying to escape the house by exiting out that bedroom window, and as she told her brother, mistimed it, and then there's we won't use the word confrontation, a meeting in the driveway between Mom and her. The fact that she's trying to escape out of a bedroom window and get away from Mom indicates there's no evidence of premeditation. The state has tried to attempt to argue that this was some master plan by Nicole Nachtman to kill Bob, lay in wait with a dead body for a day, and then wait for Mom to get there. But oh, by the way, I'm going to jump out my bedroom window when I hear Mom pull up. We also have evidence to suggest that that front door is open when law enforcement does the welfare check. So we know Mom got there likely and came out pretty quickly if that front door is still open by the time Nicole Nachtman jumps out her window. There is absolutely no evidence to suggest premeditation as to either of these counts, and we're asking that you grant our motion for judgment.
No. No. That's not how it worked. No. She got there. This is how it happened. She got there. She killed Bob. She needed Bob out of the way. She killed Bob. Okay? So then she killed Bob. Bob's laying dead in the bedroom. Okay? She had to kill Mom. She moved her car. She left to go back to school. Saw the signs. Okay? I saw the signs. She saw the signs. She came back. She was waiting for Mom to get home. She moved her car so Mom wouldn't know that she's there. She moved the car. Mom came home. Maybe she chickened out. Maybe she didn't. Met Mom in the driveway. Freaked the fuck out. Shot her anyway. And skedaddled on back. The door was unlocked and open because the chick don't know how to take care of shit and she left it unlocked when she fucking left. And so the TV and everything was still on because she left in a hurry. There, I solved it for you. Wasn't that hard?
Let me ask you: is there any case law that suggests if I think that there's evidence of premeditation by parking the car down the street, by laying in wait in the house, but then there's some evidence maybe that she changed her mind? Is there any case law that addresses that where the prior premeditation is thrown out and she needs a new premeditation after she changes her mind?
Judge, I didn't research that specific issue, but I would point to, give me a second.
Abandonment issue. Trevor Summers did that.
Is everyone except Miss Percy. Do we need her?
I don't have any idea what Miss Gary's getting ready to speak about, so.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
she may not be in here for it.
She what?
She may want to be in here.
All right. She should be right outside the door.
Should be in our witness room.
All right, Ms. Gary had some things.
Yes,
she
sir.
said she wanted to
What,
bring up.
what I want to bring up is rather than having an objection for, every single witness and objecting repeatedly as these witnesses are talking, I anticipate a lot of the defense witnesses that they're calling today we're going to be in a very similar situation to what we were yesterday during Ms. Roman's testimony,
Right.
where the state objected to hearsay.
Right.
So what I wanted to address before that is in looking at Earhart regarding hearsay, when a defendant seeks to introduce testimony concerning his or her own out-of-court statement for the truth of the matter asserted, it's hearsay, unless it falls under an exception. There is no exception for that statement being something the expert then later relied on. Now, I acknowledge that under 704, regarding expert testimony, experts can talk about things that are potentially inadmissible otherwise if it's something they rely on.
Shit. Okay. Unmute. Okay. We're not gonna start on this one. So anyway. Okay. Well, they went for a directed verdict. Judge said no, so we're gonna continue on. That's what it was. We didn't get to hear the last bit of it. So anywho. Whatever. So we're just gonna go ahead and end it here, even though I just solved the whole case for you and said this is what happened and that's what happened and it's all done. But whatever, we'll continue because we're going to get into some doctor testimony and some expert testimony. And we are going to get into the defense's case. So we're going to have to hear bitchy lawyers, bitchy defense attorneys talk now. They're just bitchy. She's bitchy. Like, why did you have to be so mean to him? Like, so matter of fact, bitchy. But I would have continued on just to knock some of this out, but the puppy is being a puppy and needs to go out. So we are going to end this here and we will continue with it at a later date. But, all right. Okay. Well, I will see you later. Peace out, homie G's. Okay, whatever. See you later.